Movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In life, we all need heroes, someone who inspires us, someone we aspire to be like, someone who motivates us to go above and beyond the call of duty, to be better, to be stronger, to be the person we want to be, and not the person we've become. In spiritual life, we also need heroes. Narottam Das Thakur is a hero of yours because he was a perfect devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Not only was he a great and dedicated preacher, but he was also a deep sadhaka, just like Haridas Thakur, who was glorified because he was perfect in both his practice and his preaching. One time you said of Indradyumna Swami that he always is and always will be your hero in Krishna consciousness. He was the first devotee that you met, and you remarked to your then wife, "I want to be just like him." He introduced you to Srila Prabhupada by taking your hand and saying, "Come, I will tell you about my spiritual master." He then proceeded to speak to you for several hours about Srila Prabhupada, his mission and the process of Krishna consciousness, whilst you both sat on the lawn of the university campus. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, being your spiritual master, is certainly your greatest hero, and in fact he is the hero of all devotees in ISKCON. Therefore we proudly declare ourselves as Prabhupada Anugas. Our spiritual master is our greatest hero because he sets the best example, and as you often quote, example is higher than precept. We all know the philosophy to a greater or lesser degree, but we need the example of the devotee who is actually following the philosophy with full faith. They have Vigyan, fully realized knowledge, and therefore they inspire us greatly. Thus the spiritual master is known as Acharya because they teach by their perfect example. Srila Gurudeva, you are our true hero because for us you are the best devotee, setting the best example, both by your practice and your preaching and your dedication to your own spiritual master in all aspects of spiritual life. You have set a perfect example throughout your devotional career as a young devotee, in your middle age, and as you have put it, now in the autumn of your life. Several months ago, we, your disciples and followers, were shocked and devastated to hear of your cancer scare. However, even at this time, you again set the perfect example by being fearless in the face of death, just like Dhruva Maharaj and indeed our Srila Prabhupada. You were fully Krishna conscious, putting your faith and your life in the loving hands of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. This is the final lesson which the spiritual master teaches us, how to prepare for death. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that all of our bhajan will be tested at the time of death. Therefore, our life is ultimately a preparation for our death. Even as devotees, death is a subject that we don't like to think about, especially when it is someone we love dearly. However, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that we should become dhira, because a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. From day one as devotees, we preach that you're not that body, and one who is born is sure to die, etc. But do we really think, understand, or truly accept that we ourselves are going to die? Srila Prabhupada cautioned us, do not think that this won't happen to you. Ahanyahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam sheshastavadamichanti kim aischariam ataparam. Mahabharat. When Maharaj Yudhisthira was asked what is the most amazing thing, he replied that although hundreds of millions of living entities are leaving their body at every moment, no one thinks that they will die. What can be more amazing than this? In one purport, Srila Prabhupada describes the term smarshana vairagya, renunciation at a funeral or a crematorium. In other words, when we are faced by death, especially when it is someone we know and love, we momentarily become introspective and realize the temporary and futile nature of material life. However, we again become covered by Maya and think that we can enjoy unlimitedly. Therefore, Chanakya Pandit wisely says that if you want if you want sense gratification, you should think, I will live forever. However, if you want self-realization, you should think, I may die today. The topmost transcendentalists keep this thought at the forefront of their consciousness. They do not waste any time but utilize every moment in the devotional service of the Lord. You have said that when we are put in a situation such as that of your recent health scare, it is a reminder from Krishna. He is saying, hey, don't get too comfortable. Wake up, sleeping soul. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. Don't forget your real purpose. I love the analogy that you give about the purpose of life. You describe how once in an airport on the way to Hungary, you missed your plane because you got too carried away with shopping in the duty-free. We may do some shopping at the airport, that's okay, but don't forget to catch the plane. That's the main reason we are there. Similarly, we are in the material world, we have a material body, and we have to look after it to some degree. But that is not the main purpose of life. Human life is meant to understand our deeper spiritual purpose, to understand our eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati put it another way. He said that this material world is like a toilet. You go in, you do your business, and you get out. Don't hang around. And what is that business? It is to go back home, back to Godhead, and take as many souls with us as we possibly can by spreading the holy name to every town and village. Srila Gurudev, you have made this your only business in life, and you are especially training all of us, your disciples and followers, to take up the family business. By your example, you are showing us that Krishna consciousness should be taken up wholeheartedly, not half-heartedly. We should complete the task at hand. As you often say, the first part of the shloka is Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya and Anartana Vritti. You often tell us not to get stuck our whole life in Anartana Vritti, struggling with our unwanted desires. That is only half of the sloka. Next comes Nishtha, Ruchi, Ashakti, then Bhava, and finally Prema, pure love of God. We shouldn't forget that this is the ultimate goal of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, by the mercy of Krishna, impending death helps us to get in the fast lane, so to speak. You told us how you went to see Bhakti-tirtha Swami when he was preparing to leave his body. His biggest lamentation was that in his humility he felt that he had not chanted enough. And this was a devotee whose powerful kirtan had had such a profound effect on people all over the world. You described the inspiration you received from Maharaj because he was completely fearless and fixed on the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. You have also spoken of your disciple Vraja Leela Dasi, who used her impending death to make rapid advancement in her Krishna consciousness during the last few months of her life. In this way, when the time came, she was fixed on the Param Gati, the supreme destination, Goloka Vrindavan. Therefore, for devotees, death is seen as a catalyst to increase and deepen our Krishna consciousness. Just like a kitten who is in the loving mouth of her mother, the devotees have no fear, but for the non-devotee, just like the mouse, they feel the fearful jaws of death. Srila Gurudev, by the experience that you have been through, and by your example during it, you have taught us how to face the final and ultimate test in Krishna consciousness. When Dhruva Maharaj stepped on the head of death and boarded the flower airplane, his first concern was for his mother. He considered her as his guru because she had given him direction as to how to attain Krishna. He was not thinking of himself, but of others. Such is the mood of a Vaishnava. They are para-dukkha dukhi, full of compassion for the fallen suffering souls. I was especially inspired that whilst you were incapacitated due to your ill health, you were concerned and feeling bad that you were having to take a break from your service of delivering the fallen souls. You were thinking not of yourself, but of your service to your spiritual master and of the welfare of all living entities. There is a saying, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. As soon as you had recovered, you wrote in a letter to your well-wishers, "Your heartfelt prayers have given me a new lease on life, and I want to redouble my efforts in helping Srila Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Wiser now to the sufferings of material existence, I pray that my words will help others take up the only alternative, the blissful life of Krishna consciousness." You have now become even more determined to dedicate yourself to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. This is an important lesson which you are teaching us. When Prabhupada was winding up his manifest pastimes, he was concerned about how his mission would carry on in his physical absence. Thus, the real way to please the spiritual master is to fulfill his mission, both whilst he is physically present and especially to continue and expand his mission in his physical absence. As you always tell us, this is a missionary movement. So we thank you for showing us how to face the final test of death as a devotee. In the material world, to prepare for death, people take out life insurance, or perhaps a more appropriate term would be death insurance. In this way, when death comes, their relatives will receive their wealth. This is a big concern for most people, since they spend their whole life accumulating this wealth. In fact, the ancient Egyptians tried to cheat death by being buried with their wealth. They thought that they could take it with them. However, as we know, you cannot take your wealth with you, and you cannot cheat death. You often tell a couple of stories which illustrate this point. The first story is the road to Ahmedabad. And the second, the story of the sculptor who tried to fool Yamaraj by making identical statues of himself so that Yamaraj would be confused as to which was the real sculptor. Both persons failed in their attempt to cheat death. As devotees, our life insurance plan is to work so hard for Krishna in this life and to dedicate ourselves completely to the Sankirtan movement so that at the time of death, Lord Chaitanya will force his way into our mind. Unlike the non-devotees, we will take our wealth with us into the next life because we know that the greatest treasure is the holy name and service to the Supreme Lord. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 2:40, that wealth is never lost. We must be prepared at all times because death can come at any moment. The martial arts teacher would teach his students to always be prepared. He would sneak up on them in the night and try to hit them with a stick. But because the students were so well prepared, they would hear the swoosh of the stick whistling through the air and would catch it before it hit them. How do we become well prepared for death? Srila Prabhupada answers this in his purport to text 5, chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. If one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the greatest lesson which you are teaching us, the importance of the holy name. Srila Prabhupada told you personally to preach boldly and have faith in the holy names. By dedicating your life to this instruction, you are teaching us the supreme secret of success in spiritual life, Guru Nishta, firm faith in Guru. One rule of poetic composition practiced by Vaishnava authors is Madhurena Sampayat, which means that a literary work should conclude in a mood of special sweetness, or as you sometimes put it, a good storyteller always knows how to finish on a positive note. It may seem that this Vyasa Puja offering has been a bit morbid, because its primary focus has been upon the subject matter of death. However, you often remind us that there are two topics that we must constantly hear in order to make steady progress in spiritual life. The first topic is the temporary, miserable nature of material life, and the second is the ever-increasing, blissful nature of spiritual life. So now, let us finish on a positive note. Actually, there is no such thing as death for a devotee, because in this body they serve Krishna, and in their next body they will continue to serve Krishna. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada famously said, deathlessness begins at the moment of initiation. Thank you, Srila Gurudeva, for being a constant source of inspiration, for always setting a perfect example, and for being our true hero in Krishna consciousness. From your ever-grateful servants, Chaitanya Vallabha Das and Jagannateshri Devi Das. Srila Gurudeva.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, terribly sorry, but all the other offerings are in the book. In the book. And in the B-double-O-K. And we'll ask Srila Gurudeva, are you okay to say a few words of wisdom to us? Okay. And would you like to have harmonium? Yeah? Okay.